Good afternoon. I'm Tim Reimers, Southern California Leadership Network Board Chair and alum of Leadership Los Angeles 2005. Welcome to the Reimagine 2020 Visionary Awards. It's truly an honor to be with all of you together as we celebrate extraordinary leaders whose combined talents bridge the business, government, and philanthropic sectors. In a few moments, you will hear from Maria Salinas, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, and SCLN's Senior Managing Director, Aaron Tannenbaum. And then, as you listen to the leadership stories and insights of our honorees, we hope you are all inspired to take action. Our region and nation need leaders like all of you. This has been a truly challenging year for all of us. I didn't imagine when I took the reins of the SCLN board that we would all be launched into a pandemic that would alter the world as we knew it. As a board, we too had to pivot to ensure that SCLN was able to continue to deliver the game-changing programs this year and well into the future. The SCLN board embraced the challenge, rolled up its sleeves, and worked collectively to strengthen the organization. It has been a pleasure working alongside such talented and committed leaders. I want to recognize them for their hard work, guidance, and support. I want to especially acknowledge our Visionary Awards Committee's co-chairs, Sarah Harden from Deloitte, Tricia Muse from Southern California Gas, and Scott Pansky from Allison & Partners, who have devoted a tremendous amount of time and lent their expertise to help shape and execute today's event. I know you will all join me in giving them a virtual round of applause. Today's event is even more important this year. The Visionary Awards not only support SCLN's work, it helps provide scholarships for underrepresented emerging leaders, giving them opportunity to gain skills, knowledge, and network to successfully pursue professional and civic leadership roles. Funds raised today ensure that SCLN continues to include voices that are crucial for the effective cross-sector collaboration and problem solving. Let's take a moment to recognize the sponsors whose financial investments make our mission a reality. This year's presenting sponsor is Amazon. The 2020 gold sponsors are Southern California Gas Company and UPS. Silver sponsors are Capital Group, Cedars-Sinai, Deloitte, First 5 LA, Janet Schulman, Executive Consulting to the Nonprofit Sector, Kaiser Permanente, Southern California Association of Governments, the California Wellness Foundation, and Walmart. Bronze sponsors are HDR Inc., the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, Otis College of Art and Design, Paige Searden, and John Lipinski. Thank you to all of the generous sponsors for your investment in our region's emerging leaders. Let's give them a virtual round of applause. As a member of the board and as an alum, I am so proud of the path we are on. Let me tell you about the ways you can be a part of this exciting time in our history. First, your financial support is integral to SCLN's success. We invite you to demonstrate your commitment to regional leadership by donating via the donate button at the top right of your screen. Second, if you haven't participated in an SCLN fellowship, you should. Or if you know somebody who can benefit from one of our fellowships, please tell them about us. We are currently recruiting for Leadership Los Angeles. If you're interested, please connect with Jessica Cornell at the SCLN table during the live after party. Third, we're always looking to partner with businesses, foundations, and individuals as sponsors. SCLN is on the front line of helping diverse, capable professionals rise to leadership roles. As a sponsor or donator, you can actively support this very important work. I'm thrilled to be part of this movement and am deeply committed to making SCLN better than ever. I hope you'll join with me. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Maria Salinas, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you so much, Tim. It's wonderful to be with you today. I strongly believe in the work of the Southern California Leadership Network. The mark of a great region is one where business, government, and community leaders work together to create change. A great region is one that has exceptional civic leadership that drives the region to current and future success. The LA Area Chamber is committed to leadership development through the work of SCLN. For many years, and this year is no exception, SCLN has seen the benefits of its cross-sector leadership programs, enabling professionals to advance their issues awareness, leveraging their unique leadership skills and resources, and to connect with community leadership opportunities. Among SCLN's alumni are exemplary individuals who have become business leaders, public servants, and some of the most innovative nonprofit leaders in Southern California. Since 1987, SCLN has equipped nearly 3,500 civic-minded individuals to create and lead informed solutions, addressing quality of life issues across Los Angeles, Southern California, and the state. Exceptional leadership is needed in unprecedented and uncertain times like these. One of our biggest challenges to this kind of collaboration is the existence of opportunities for people to move beyond their silos and develop the relationships needed to create real change. SCLN facilitates the development of partnerships that inspire the creative breakthrough solutions that will help our region emerge from the current crisis and ensure that our communities become more resilient, equitable, and inclusive. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Erin Tenenbaum, Senior Managing Director of SCLN.
Thank you so much, Maria. We have a fantastic partnership with the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank Maria and the entire Chamber team for your collaboration today and really every day. A very special thank you to Blanca Zarate, Stephanie Morales, and Anaí Godinez, who have been important partners in today's event. I have to say, I truly love this work. In my 6 years with SCLN, I've met the most extraordinary people. And I truly believe it is our alumni and our fellows that make our programs so unique and so valuable. It is what they bring to the table. Their expertise, their perspectives, their insights, and their commitment to inclusion, equity, and opportunity for everyone. They give me hope for the future because they are taking action through their professional and civic careers. SCLN brings together leaders. We get them outside of their normal silos, and we create spaces where they learn from each other, nurturing growth with authenticity, trust, and deep respect. In doing so, SCLN weaves widely diverse perspectives into the tightly knit relationships that drive change. I'm so proud that even in the midst of a pandemic, SCLN continued to deliver its programs in virtual environments that inspired shared learning, relationship building, and partnership development to more than 90 professionals across Southern California. And through our Reardon Leadership Institute, we help build the capacity of more than 30 local nonprofit organizations. Our RLI fellows and alumni stepped up to provide our nonprofit partners access to grant funding and PPE for communities most in need. We also delivered a series of leadership and mindfulness webinars and created opportunities for our alumni to connect, even in a virtual space. See for yourself the life-changing experience of SCLN.
We recently instituted a diversity and inclusion committee at Fox Sports West that's quickly become part of the fabric of our network.
tonight on the coronavirus outbreak in this country.
The state has now hit another grim milestone.
The county just reported its highest number of new cases yet.
We are seeing an increase.
Social distancing remains a critically important strategy.
It's great to see everybody's faces. It'll be really fun to meet all of you virtually.
Thank you for joining this morning.
Folks are just really thankful that we brought something beautiful to the area.
You have to be proactive and not just hearing from the folks who you always hear from.
Building equity in a community is an intersectional challenge. It requires a multi-sectoral approach and solution.
Actively engage in discussions, collaborate on ways to overcome challenges, and share your skills and insights.
So it's important that we have thoughtful leaders who can really think through these complex issues.
Before we move forward, I'd like to give a very special shout out to the SCLN team. Jessica Cornell, Lindsay Johnston, and Colleen Menard. I've never worked with such an extraordinary group of women. They're talented, they're brilliant, they're collaborative, they're creative, and they're truly compassionate. We laugh a lot, and I am so grateful to you for making this work so worthwhile. I'm now very excited to introduce our guest moderator, Lolita Lopez, investigative reporter and anchor for NBC4 Southern California. We're so honored to have Lolita with us here today, and I want to say thank you to her for her tireless reporting.
Thank you so much, Erin. I am thrilled to be here today with you all. Thank you so much for joining me in, as you see, is not a typical studio. This is my basement here in Los Angeles in my home. And yes, I do have one here. And this is the way that I have been working for the last several months during the time of COVID. I've not been back to the station, but still continue to transmit and tell the stories of our communities from here in my home, and at times in a socially distant way in our communities, making sure that we do not miss anything and get everything that you all need and all the information that you need on your screens every single day on Channel 4. But again, we are here to celebrate some amazing, amazing women. And I have been a great supporter of the Southern California Leadership Network and have had the honor of actually emceeing and moderating these very Visionary Awards in a little bit of a different way, but this one will be unique and special, just like we all are, right? Well, the world as we know it has really changed during the COVID pandemic, and COVID-19 has affected so many communities across Southern California, the nation, and the world. And today we recognize some women who have really taken on the challenge during this unprecedented time and shown what leadership looks like, what communities and businesses and government can do if there is visionary leadership. There's no better time to focus our attention on these individuals for what they have been doing, which is taking a step forward. They're championing change, and they're inspiring us to have a greater vision about what our futures can be and should be like. I'm delighted to be here with you to celebrate not just these women, but the communities that they have created around them that are serving and helping all of us each and every day. So let's get right to it. We have three spectacular women. Many you may have seen before, some you may not know, but you definitely are affected by what they do. They have inspired action, they've inspired community collaboration and solutions that have a profound and lasting effect, not just on our region, but our state and our nation. Our first honoree is someone that you may have seen on your television screens pretty much every day, giving us the much needed information on COVID-19 and the impacts on the Los Angeles County community. Dr. Barbara Ferrer, she is the director of the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health, and she's receiving this award for her successful impact on improving population outcomes through her efforts that build health and education equity. Dr. Ferrer, congratulations.
I did start my career after I got out of school as a community organizer. I was working on issues related to homelessness, to economic security, particularly for women, to healthcare access. So, I got my start like door knocking, like all good community organizers. It was one of the most impactful lessons I've ever learned has been from being a community organizer. I mean, most importantly, I learned to listen to people and listen for understanding. People who are affected by issues and challenges, they know what the challenges are. And I think most importantly, they have really solid ideas about how to get to solutions. I think for me, I'm placed on this earth to work with other people to make sure that we're in service of justice. I worked for a wonderful mayor when I was in Boston, but also I worked for amazing, amazing people who were leading community organizations and working for change in communities. And I will say the main sort of lesson for me is, an effective leader is a person who really respects lots of other people and allows for lots of other people to step up and lead as well. As part of being sort of a director at a department like ours, or running an agency, or leading a community organization, leading a movement for change, we got to give ourselves a lot of flexibility and, I want to say a lot of love and care. I think everybody who's working right now is challenged by how do I get my job done? How do I bring my very best to work when, in fact, we all have our personal lives. I think the first thing that I think needs to change up a little bit during this most challenging time for many of us is we have to really acknowledge how hard it is to actually make good decisions, balance family needs and work needs, and really, I think, take care of ourselves and the people we love. I know many people say, oh, we're in COVID-19 and we really understand how we all have to do our part. We've always all had to do our part. It's just become crystal clear how much we depend on each other and how much we need to take care of each other and how much we need to understand that if you're hurting, then I'm not okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ferrer. Our second honoree is Charlene Thomas. She is the Chief Human Resource Officer at UPS and an alumni of Leadership LA. She is receiving this award for leading the transformation and HR initiatives to optimize the talent, leadership, and culture for the company's more than 528,000 employees worldwide. Congratulations, Charlene.
As a leader, you always work the job you have and always build the talent that you can. And you make sure people feel empowered, recognized and appreciated, and know that they can definitely be successful if they're aligned and they have the right motivations. At UPS, we have a very unique culture. Moving our world forward by delivering what matters is our core purpose. This purpose statement allows us to align our over 500,000 employees globally to one central focus. It gives us the ability to give a uniform message and really give people the inspiration, the motivation, and really the desire to continue to deliver for our customers, our communities, as well as each other. With COVID, you have to consider every part of our operation, including our drivers, inside employees, as well as our staff, on how can we keep them safe, understanding what their needs are, from benefits to PPE, to communication, to time off, to just understanding how to virtually connect with those who are working remotely, and really be able to continue the holistic thing that keeps our jobs kind of united is making sure we're still all driving for the same things. Anytime you are recognized for any work, there's always people behind the work. You just get the opportunity to really show everyone how what they've done matters on a grander stage, because it's about investing in people and investing in communities and understanding your larger calling and that it's never about an individual. So whenever you receive an award, it's very humbling because really you know what you're doing is making an impact and having a difference on people's lives.
Thank you so much, Charlene. And last but certainly not least is our third honoree. And her introduction needs a "Go Dodgers," because as we're recording this, we are in the midst of our World Series playoff. She is Nicole Whiteman. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation. And she's receiving this award for her leadership in transforming the foundation into one of the most innovative and impactful youth development organizations in the region. Congratulations, Nicole.
I started with the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation back in 2013, and our mission is truly to improve outcomes in the areas of homelessness, education, healthcare, and social justice. We place a significant emphasis on youth throughout Los Angeles, given the fact that there are almost 1 million children living in Los Angeles alone. And of those 1 million children, about 1 in 4 are living in extreme poverty. We truly believe that programs like our Dodgers Dream Fields program, where we build baseball fields in underserved communities, our Dodgers RBI program, our sports-based youth development program serving 11,000 kids at 85 different locations, give youth comprehensive programs and an opportunity to live healthy lives. And children who live healthy lives therefore then contribute to a healthy city, a healthy society. After graduating Spelman College with a degree in economics, I actually started out in investment banking and then went on to publishing. And throughout those two industries, I definitely honed some amazing skills and excelled at what I did, but I was lacking something. I quickly came to figure out that I was yearning for an opportunity to have a deeper impact. I really wanted to be in an industry that, serve youth and families the way in which my family was served. And so the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation exists to ensure that every young Angelino has an opportunity to thrive regardless of zip code. When we learned of the seriousness of this pandemic, we immediately decided that, we wanted to be a part of the solution. So together with, the team and with partners throughout Los Angeles, we immediately launched a relief fund. And to date, we've actually provided over 400,000 meals and about $1 million in-kind donations, including basic necessities, food, clothing, and more across Los Angeles. The Dodger brand in itself brings happiness to a lot of people throughout our city, and we know that. And so we know that it's been important to show up for our communities during this time and to be part of the solution. Now is certainly not the time for us to waver.
Please join me in a virtual round of applause for this year's Visionary Awards honorees. Excellent work, ladies, and you are not done with me yet. I want to keep you here to have a conversation about leadership and about the roles and the things that you are doing now, especially now in 2020, to move all of your organizations forward, but also create some new paths and some new journeys in the future. In my business, I believe that my job is complete when the stories that I tell make a difference, when we are able to inspire people to make a difference and to do things within their own communities and really make change. And highlighting those stories are the things that I really find the most gratifying of the work that I get to do each and every day. So today's a perfect example of doing just that, because I feel like I have 3 of the interviews that I would want to covet and get, and they're all here in a row, helping us sort of talk about the things that we can do in our daily lives and give some folks out there some tips about what they can do moving forward as well. So I wanted to open up a question for all of you. And usually we lead with, as a woman, what have been your obstacles in your career? But I want to turn that around a little bit. I want to ask you all first, as a woman, what has helped you achieve success in your career, and what obstacles have you had to face in that path? Dr. Ferrer, let's start with you.
Thanks so much, Lolita. And I think for me, and perhaps for so many of us, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for the love, the support, the caring of whole groups of people that really helped me figure out when I was on a path that wasn't a productive path, helped me understand what was really going on in the world around me and how I could be a better person and contribute to efforts to do right, be good, and most importantly, people who understood that we all sometimes need a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance. I'm that person. I'm that person who was not really headed anywhere for many, many years when I was younger. And if it wasn't for the love and caring of so many other people, I know I wouldn't be here. So, first, I have such deep gratitude and appreciation to everyone who supported me and helped me learn, helped me understand, helped me find my place and my ability to, I think, be part of a team that's really fighting for change. I'd say the biggest obstacles are that, we all carry with us experiences and stories that make it hard for us to sometimes be all we can be and to help other people be all we can be. And whether it's because we're women or it's because of the color of our skin or the experiences that other people have brought to bear on our lives, it shapes us and it shapes how we then interpret the world around us. And part of the work, I think, for all of us is to understand what systems are working to disadvantage whole groups of people and change those systems. And then understand what personal journey do I need to go on so I can be a better person, so I can contribute to the change that's absolutely essential.
Yeah, and that idea of change is so magnified in this state that we're in, not just within the COVID-19 pandemic, but the calls for social justice that we're hearing on a daily basis. They're not new, but they're amplified in such a way that they're reaching just all facets of different communities around, not just where we live, but around the world. Really interesting in terms of your nature, nurture type of situation. Have you seen the same thing, Nicole? And for you as a woman, what have you found that has made you successful and what obstacles have you had to overcome?
Yeah, I love the way you flipped that question, Lolita. I think that my journey has definitely had its share of obstacles, whether they've had to do with the fact that I'm a woman or a Black woman at that. Yet I do believe that I've kind of learned early on to focus on solutions and lessons. So I always say that as the daughter of parents who migrated to this country from Jamaica, I always saw this powerful example of dedication and commitment, right? Like my parents basically said to me and my siblings, we came to this country so that you could be committed to excellence, so that you could be able to access your wildest dreams. So as a woman in professional sports, I feel like I often insist on leading with this value, with these values of excellence and of integrity and of preparation. So no matter the scenario or the obstacle, I'm often asking myself if the action that's required is true to who I am. And so I navigate by asking myself, does this conflict with my core beliefs? How will I feel afterward? And truly, because there are a few women in my space, I feel pressure often to never miss an opportunity. But I understand that I certainly can seize the moment, but I also am comfortable knowing that there are some moments that are not meant for me. So I think that this discernment has been critical to my success. I know when to step up, and I certainly know when I need to step back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you both have said something that are really interesting in your own ways, but the idea of having a team and being part of a team, not having, you might have to lead that team, but you're not the only one, because then there would be no team, but that's part of the successes as well. Charlene, please tell us a little bit about what have you learned throughout your career in this respect?
So I think that, like the two ladies have mentioned, it is so important for you to really know who you are. I think, as I look over my career, I have always been women have not been predominantly in the transportation industry, and always say, why not me? And why not take the opportunity to not only be different, but to be able to demonstrate capabilities, be able to demonstrate authenticity, to be inclusive and collaborative, and to know that people can count on you, not because you're a woman, but because of who you are and really helping define this space to make a pathway for others to be successful, no matter what race or gender they may be, but being able to make sure that you bring others up as you bring yourself. That was one of the core beliefs of our founder of UPS, and to make sure that you're intentionally knowing that everything that you do does and leads to things that set the example for others. So I've had many men as well as women help in my career, but I know that it's important for you to be very intentional about making sure that you don't have to always be the only one or the first, which has been many of the things that I've encountered. But to make sure, if that's the case, that you break that mold, that there are a succession behind you, and that succession is not only competent, but also confident that they can be successful and be contributors.
Yeah, and I'm going to botch this a little bit, but I remember a quote that kind of stays with me. That's like, you're only a good leader if you bring people along with you. And I think all three of you really, in just what you've described in terms of your career path and the things that you've done in order to succeed and learn from any failures, if you will, is based upon that. But you talk about opening doors, Charlene, and I want to pivot a little bit to Nicole, because that's what you do for young children in sports. And you are advancing equity, you're increasing access, you're advocating for resources and opportunities for marginalized communities. That's really at the core, not just of your professional, but your civic career, right? As a CEO of your award-winning foundation, obviously you do that with your Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation there, but you're also part of several nonprofits that are doing the same thing. And so, especially at this time when it seems like resources are so low, when people are in such need, how do you think we as leaders can meet the urgency of the time, and how can leaders use the moment to help our communities become more resilient and more equitable in the future?
Wow. So we as leaders can meet the urgency of this times by acknowledging the essentials that every human needs to excel. And those are basic. It's freedom, it's protection, and it's access to resources. As leaders, I think we must be brave enough to face uncomfortable truths during this time. True patriotism means acknowledging that the liberties promised by the Constitution just don't apply to all of us. And once we accept that fact, then we have a chance to show what it means to be an American, a true American. And we assess what we can do as part of an immediate solution, and we take action. When it comes to helping communities become more resilient and equitable, I think we have to take the time to ask ourselves what we as individuals would need to thrive. When you're assessing what to do, you ask yourself, as I would ask myself, what would I want for me and my family? We want to be safe. We want to feel respected and valued. We want to know that education and economic resources are available so that we can achieve our goals. At LADF, we often say boldly that zip code should never determine opportunity. I think as leaders, that's most important during these urgent times. Every neighborhood should provide a starting point, should be at a starting point, free of systemic and institutional hurdles that simply make it impossible and difficult for one to thrive.
Yeah, and perhaps have those like very hard and sometimes even simple conversations on what do you need? Do you have everything that is available? Like, how are you feeling today? I love when people ask me that question because it makes me think that they're recognizing who I am and where I am in those moments. Yeah. So really, really great, Nicole.
That's
thank you for that.
Question for 2020. How are you feeling? And am I okay as well?
Yeah. And I think that's brilliant that you as a leader can say that, because if you're leading in that way, then the folks that are with you can feel comfortable in feeling those ways as well. Thank you so much for that. That was amazing. Charlene, in your career at UPS, you've earned your way through many successful leadership roles throughout the time there, now leading 528,000 employees and counting. And I say and counting because I know that your life and your world has changed so much during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we've all had to sort of pivot, but definitely in what you've been doing, you've had to do that as well. So what skills have helped you propel your career, especially even during this time, kind of change things up, if you will, and how are you preparing others to take on leadership roles?
So big pivot. Let's first talk to the pandemic, really talk about catching everybody off guard. We, as a global organization, we experienced it from the onset in China, and we really had our international colleagues really give us kind of a flavor of what it takes to not only get our people engaged, listening, which is so important, asking questions, checking in, providing what is needed, and being a listening ear. The overall concern of just keeping people safe, recognizing that the challenges that were presented were unprecedented in the sense that there was nothing essentially we could do other than just listen and respond, and to really just be there as a sounding board to understand that every part of our business was being impacted. And then as it evolved across Europe and then obviously into the United States, it's just really making sure that what do we need to do to make our operations safe? Because once we were named as an essential employer and provider of services to our world, as far as just general supplies to our health practitioners like the doctor on the call, as well as just to provide household goods with everyone that is being restricted and quarantined, we really had to make sure that our employees were safe, providing PPE, making sure that we started looking at the fact that if our employees were impacted by COVID themselves, what we're going to do by providing benefits. Making sure we constantly keep that listening ear to answer the social justice call, because we were right in the pandemic, and then the social justice situation was right in the midst of that. And that's being able to not only to listen to our health concerns, but our social concerns. And obviously it has the bigger economic ripple effect. And as we look at our organization, as we're going through HR transformation, I think that this pandemic was a really good test for us having to have more than just the essential business at focus, but really to understand the concentric circles that impact what we do every day, starting at the core with our people, and really providing for them holistically, not just financially, but emotionally, with healthcare as well, as making sure that, you know, knowing that people are not in the same type of conditions when it comes to being able to interact and be able to see their loved ones, you know, just making sure through Zoom and all the other extended type of connections that we're being sensitive to people needing time off, to check on loved ones, to be able just to understand that, you know, this is a very critical time, and employers that are able to listen to employees well, provide listening and support and giving opportunity will really be able to come through this, and I hope the near future, with their people, not only believing more in the organization, but a healthier and more socially and globally conscious workforces, which we are really building to as we look at changing our HR structure and really creating a more holistic view of how we want our people to be taken care of as we go into 2021.
Right, and it's an ever-changing sort of cycle, right? It's something that we may have done in August is not something that we've done in December, but we're sort of on this learning curve of what's next. I mean, even in our own place here at NBC, we had some really great sit-downs with folks who have had some really hard times within the system and how the system has treated them based on the color of their skin, where they're from. We also had communication and contacts and talks about what is respect? What does respect mean to you? And how do you show respect to others? And those conversations we weren't necessarily having before. And it was very enlightening, and hopefully we can continue with that. And it seems that that is exactly what UPS is that trajectory that they're on, you all are on as well. And talk about pivoting in the moment and literally by the minute. Dr. Ferrer, I feel like that is you must wake up every morning and 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock look completely different on any given day. And your work with health equity throughout your career has really, showcased how you've been able to bring in folks who have needed more support and help through our communities here in LA County. We are seeing how COVID-19 has impacted primarily the Latino community and the resources that they may need, and sort of the past that has now led to where we are here presently. But on top of all of this, you have the tremendous amount and effort that you're putting into having to deal with collaboration and different stakeholders and different priorities. But you lead, as you always say, with health first and the health of our friends, our family members, and our communities. So now that you are the face and the voice of COVID here in Los Angeles County, what skills and talents do you think it helps you to successfully lead in those collaborations? And what do you think is needed in the future to continue that as we are, frankly, in the time of crisis for, it seems, a little while longer?
Thanks so much. I really feel like fundamentally the most important skill for leadership now and into the future is the ability to listen to other people, particularly those people that are most affected by any given issue. In this case, as you noted, Lolita, we have seen a devastation across all of LA County, but particularly hitting hard some of our most vulnerable communities, including the Latinas, Latino, Latinx community, the African American Black community, our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander indigenous peoples across many different groups have in fact been hit hardest. And unfortunately, they haven't just been hit hardest by COVID-19. Historically and presently, it's these very same groups that oftentimes have the worst health outcomes. And so quickly, we have as professionals gone to explaining the inequities that we see in health outcomes, the disparities we see, the disproportionality as something related to human behavior, individual human behavior, when in fact, the issues around police murders and brutality, and the issue around COVID-19 disproportionality, and the issue around diabetes disproportionately affecting the Latino community and the African American Black community, they're all related to understanding the impact of racism. And there's really nothing that we're going to be successful at in terms of really creating for ourselves as a community the opportunities, the distribution of opportunities and resources that everyone needs to be healthy if we don't address the issues related to racism. And one of the ways that I think as leaders we can be most effective is creating opportunities for us to listen to what's going on in our communities. Sometimes because we're in health, people talk a lot about building resilience. I'd like to really talk about eliminating oppression. I don't want to keep asking people to be strong when things are going wrong all around them. I want to start looking at what is the sources of oppression? What are the sources that contribute to the inequities we see around COVID-19? Essential workers. Who are our essential workers? They went back to work day one. They never actually left work. Before we knew about asymptomatic spread, before we were telling people to wear those face coverings, and they consequently are bearing the brunt of much of the high rates of cases, high rates of hospitalization. But it's our job not to just say this is what's happening, but what is it that we're going to do? So right now, today, this isn't a continued story around COVID-19. And for us, it's really about protecting workers. It's really about making sure that if you're asking people to quarantine and isolate, essential for stopping community spread, that they have resources, they have a safety net. You can't really tell a whole household not to go to work for 2 weeks if there's going to be no money in that household. That is not a good public health practice. Public health practice is understanding and listening to what is it that people need so that they can do their part in slowing the spread.
And it seems that, those are the lessons that we're learning in 2020 of really vocalizing not just what's happening with the pandemic, but with calls for racial and social change. And you all have talked about it, even like it coming and seeping into your communities. And it might have been there already in your workplaces, but now really being one of those things that there's now a need for a call to action, which actually brings me to, so then what's next? If you're looking ahead to 2021, what leadership tips would you give attendees as you look at the greater picture, whether we're in the pandemic or not, but now we know what can happen in something like this with their calls for social and racial justice and change as a whole on how we treat each other. Dr. Ferris, since you just ended there, what are some tips you can give to folks about leadership going into 2021?
I think the most important thing for me, and I think we all spoke about this, is we're not alone, and we're not going to be effective leaders if we go it alone. So we have to really figure out how is it best to work with other people? How is it best to listen for understanding? How is it best to develop consensus agendas that allow us to find common ground so that we move forward on creating the reality of the vision that we're all looking for? Places and spaces where everyone has opportunities to be healthy and emotionally well. And it's going to be hard work, but I think the hardest part of this is not thinking that, you have all the answers, you're always right, you've studied everything. I mean, this, particularly in my profession, it's really important that we understand the people closest to the issues have the best understanding of both what are the issues and oftentimes what are the solutions. So we're not going to really accomplish our goals of creating a better world for each other and for those who come next unless we're going to be able to understand as we create a path forward that I think creates more opportunities.
Yeah. And Charlene, you spoke about it, especially with the work that you do. It's not just about where we live now, but it is global, and you've had to deal with this on a global scale. What tips do you have or advice do you have for 2021?
I think in 2021, it's going to be a pivotal year as you do any planning around people, just the holistic treatment of how you have to serve your employees. And making sure that you're very centric to the fact that what goes on outside of your area is very critical for how you do your business internally. And not only having listening and intentional listening checkpoints with your people, but to have definitive actions that can be taken. Because in many cases, our employees come to us looking for answers and solutions, and they may not all be the final solve, but I think it's really about creating a pathway to help solution, to give options, to provide sounding boards, and to make sure that your organization is receptive to make changes and that we put in perspective and follow up. I think many times we've seen crises like this in the past and we've all kind of waited for things to kind of get better. I think that having a definitive point of view on being very intentional about where you think you can make a difference, using business resource groups, using whatever community outreach that you have through your volunteer efforts, through whatever relationships you have with local governments, to make sure that you're very specific around what you would like to see them do to service you as a business, to make sure that you're having the best interest of your employees at mind, and making sure that your employees know. I think many employees really don't know. We've done a very great job at making sure we've definitively put a position out there. We've put it out with the Social Justice and Equity Task Force. We have continuous conversation about this. And I think 2021 is going to be about the conversation into action year, to where you can definitively craft what you can accomplish and to continue to progress forward with your employees, understanding that this is a journey and it's definitely not a race.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. In the journalistic world, I love the follow-up, right? We always take the headline, but what's a headline if you're not following up to see what happens after that? And I'm one of those reporters that people are like, oh, here she is, she's calling me again. But I appreciate the follow-up because that's where the action does take place. So Charlene, duly noted. And Nicole, take it away for us. Tell us what advice you would give as we lead into 2021 and beyond.
Wow, leadership in 2020 has certainly been tested. And I think that we have to reflect on 2020 in order to move into 2021 as an effective leader. This year in particular has shown me a new dimension to effective leadership. I've been faced with this mounting responsibility of facilitating and continuing to facilitate award-winning programs, but also coping with what it means to be a Black woman who is a wife to a Black husband and a mother to 2 young Black sons, a daughter to a Black father, a sister to 2 Black brothers. And throughout most of my career, I felt pushed to separate those 2 things. But now, and in 2020, I've learned that I have to use my voice to advocate for families who don't have the same platform as me. Many times our own story is our power. And in this fight to create a more just society, I'm leading and I'm going to continue to lead with an unwavering passion, because the very thing that we're fighting for could be a part of my personal reality. As leaders going into 2021, I think we need to be confident and brave enough to address the sins of our country. We can't be afraid to admit that the playing field is far from level, and we cannot deflect our responsibility. Effective leaders know that no community would choose to struggle and no family would choose to perpetuate violence. And so they often just fall into a vicious cycle where their reality leads to these tragic outcomes. And so I often talk about getting back, people often talk about getting back to a normal life before COVID-19. And I often say, what's normal, right? So many of the families that we serve, normal was laced with crisis and trauma. So we have to we have to determine that we want to be better than normal. We want to create a new normal. 2021 will not be the normal that we knew it wants to be. And once we understand that we're all connected, then we'll address the struggles of others, even when they appear to be no direct impact or have no direct impact on ourselves. There is a brand new normal. We've got to create that new normal.
Yeah, and not fall back into old ways that obviously weren't going anywhere, and especially now in the climate that we're in. The humility and empathy that all three of you have shared with us in your wonderful leadership roles that are not just inspiring, but I know are challenging, and I see it with what you all do from behind the scenes and in front of the camera where I see most of you. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your experiences, because I really do think it will benefit so many people to learn and to reflect and to take the humility that you have. I do feel it shows that there is a lot of hope out there. And I always take that hope and the positivity and move that forward. Nicole, Charlene, and Barbara, I feel like I know you, but I will call you Dr. Frere because you are the doctor. Thank you so very much. And again, congratulations on your Visionary Awards. So well deserved. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of our sponsors and partners who have made this event so special. We would usually be in a room with a couple of people or a few folks, and an always jam-packed room. But now in this virtual space, hopefully hundreds of you out there can really gain some knowledge that we have just gotten from these three amazing women. On behalf of everyone at SCLN, thank you for being with us here today. And I wanted to leave with one thing. I wear a bracelet and on it, it says Ubuntu. I wear this all the time to remind me of what's important in this world. And loosely translated, this African proverb means I am who I am because of who we are together. So remember, when we lead, when we're there, when we're working, it is always in unity. And as a unified group, we can make and move forward together. We wish you all good health and happy holidays. Please stick around for the instructions for the live and very socially distant after party.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lolita. That was such an inspiring conversation. We are at the end of our program and it's time for the reception. We will be hosting the reception on the platform Remo, where you will have the opportunity to connect with old friends and meet new ones. To join us, simply scroll down to the section labeled reception and click on the link labeled join us. I look forward to seeing all of you there.